Well, I'm investing my life in training pastors to preach the Word of God because every great movement through the centuries has been birthed with a new wave of men being sent out to preach the Word of God. I mean, you just walk through the Old Testament. Jesus was a preacher. He trained preachers. The book of Acts, one out of every 4 verses is a sermon. The church has always been strongest when preaching is the strongest, and the low ebbs of church history have been when there's a famine in the land for the hearing of the word of the Lord. So if you only had one bullet to fire and hit the most strategic target, you would train men to preach the word of God, because that sets in motion everything that's good and healthy in the church. My heart is being drawn more and more and more overseas to train national pastors around the world. I was born in America. I love a lot about America, so this is very unnatural for me to feel this way. America has basically everything it needs. Overseas, I think, is where the crying need is, and really is where the rest of the world is. And so whenever I go overseas, I find that pastors and people and parishioners are far more receptive to the truth that would be brought to them. And so I think it's the wisest investment of my time and what God is doing around the world. And God is working powerfully around the world. And who knows really what the future for America even is. But around the world is where I want to make more and more deposits of my time and influence. I loved being in Zambia at Central Africa Baptist University. I loved the pastors that I met there. I was amazed at how many men were eager to be taught and trained in the Word of God, and how faithful and devoted they were. In fact, I remember even as I was going through my notes, if I flipped a page and didn't give them what was on that page, they would raise their hand and say, "Go stop and go back to the page that you passed over." That doesn't happen in other places. So there is a very unique appetite there among those men for training in the Word of God, as well as in the Word of God itself. And so it was a wonderful experience, from beginning with the leadership with Phil Hunt and other men, pastors, Chopo, and others who I met. They're kindred spirits, like-minded men. We're rowing in the same direction. So I felt like I was stepping into the current of a river that's flowing in the direction that I want to go. So it was a wonderful spiritual experience that I had. I want to urge the church, wherever you might be that is listening to this, to come alongside missions overseas, and especially places that are faithful to the Word of God, like Central Africa Baptist University, to give your prayer support, to give your financial support, because places like this do so much with so little. Everything that's invested is multiplied. There's no bureaucracy, there's no fat, if you will. It just goes into the machinery of reaching the world for Christ and training men to reach the world for Christ. And so I would urge you to give sacrificially to mission work just like this. God has a heart for the world, and He so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son. And so we've got to think beyond our own region and think globally. And I know in Central Africa, that is a strategic place to invest your resources that will yield eternal dividends.